Grace, and today I'm going to be showing a few different snippets of an adaptation of Shakespeare's Measure for Measure that I'm working on, tentatively titled Measure versus Measure. And if you're able to scan the QR code, then you hopefully have a general idea of what this play is about. If not, that's also okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation. So Measure for Measure is one of Shakespeare's lesser-known comedies, mostly because it is not very funny. It's very confusing. So basically what's happening at the top of the play and the action that takes us up to our first piece today is that there's this guy, he's the Duke, he's the king, basically, the Duke. And he goes on vacation. He tells everyone he's going on vacation to put this other guy, Angelo, in charge. And he's like, okay, this guy's going to go in charge, I'm going to leave. So that happens, but then he doesn't actually leave, and he disguises himself as a friar, which is kind of like a priest, and he just kind of like lurks and watches what's happening so that he can decide if Angelo is going to be a good king or not, like after he dies. So that's where we're at, and then Angelo's first action in office is to order the death of a man named Claudio, who has committed fornication. Basically, he got his fiancée pregnant, and they're like, that's illegal, we're going to behead you. And so Claudio is like, oh no, and he calls to his sister, who is Isabella, who is a young nun in the Votarists of St. Clair. And he's like, please come beg for my life, because you're so smart and you're so good with words, and you're definitely going to be able to win Angelo over. So she's like, fine. And she goes up in front of Angelo, and she's like, can you please not kill my brother? And, you know, they have this whole scene, and she's very intelligent about it, and has all these great arguments, and Angelo decides, okay, I will save your life, but only, or save your brother's life, but only if you sleep with me. And she's like, okay, well, I'm a nun, so that doesn't really work. That's kind of the whole thing, is that I don't do that. And so that's the ultimatum that she's issued, and he sort of roughs her up a little bit in this scene and sort of leaves her a day to make her decision. And so this first monologue, which is mostly original text with a little bit of editing and a little bit of adding lines that are normally lines of other characters. This first monologue is right after he leaves the room, after he's issued his ultimatum. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this, who would believe me? Is this his fault or mine? Temptress or the tempted who sins the most? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the self-same tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, looking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws. Oh, it is excellent to have a giant's strength, but it is tyrannous to use it like a giant. All to my brother. Though he hath failed on prompture of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honor that had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he'd yield them up before his sister should her body stoop to such abhorred pollution. Then Isabel lived chaste, and brother died. More than our brother is our chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angelo's request, and fit his mind to death for his soul's rest. So, yeah, we're going to do a little time skip. She basically goes to her brother, and she's like, this is the situation, so obviously I'm not going to sleep with this guy, because I can't do that. And her brother's like, can you actually please just do it? And she's like, no, oh my god. And so the Duke, who is in disguise as a friar, remember, good, really important thing to remember here, helps her set up a prank, basically, where he tricks Angelo into thinking that he's sleeping with Isabella, when really, in fact, Angelo is sleeping with his own ex-fiancée that he left in the dust like a month ago because her dowry drowned. Crazy. So he sleeps with his ex-fiancée named Mariana, thinks that he's effectively slept with Isabella. There's a whole thing going on where it's like it has to be completely in the dark and like no one's allowed to speak. Like there's all this stuff going on. So that happens, and he thinks he slept with Isabella. And then the next morning, he still orders her brother to be executed. Right? Okay. and so then the Duke pulls some more strings disguised as a priest, and someone else ends up getting executed instead of the brother, but everyone except for him thinks that the brother has been executed. Lots of mess. And then Isabella goes in front of the Duke, who's now taken off his disguise. He's like, guys, I'm back from vacation. And she goes up to him and she's like, please, can you arrest Angelo because he did all this awful stuff? And the Duke at this point, he knows everything that's happened, and he chooses to keep the secret of his identity and the secret of the fact that Isabella's brother Claudio is still alive during this entire scene, which is a pretty crazy decision of him. So we're going to start with that. Justice, so royal Duke, veil your regard upon a wronged... I would fain have said a maid. Oh, worthy prince, dishonor not your eye by throwing it on any other object, till you have heard me in my true complaint and given me justice! Justice! Justice!
Here is Lord Angelo shall give you justice.
Oh, worthy Duke, you bid me seek redemption of the devil. Hear me yourself, for that which I must speak must either punish me, not being believed, or bring redress from you. Hear me! Oh, hear me, hear.
My lord, her wits, I fear me, are not firm. She hath been a suitor to me for her brother, cut off by course of justice.
By course of justice!
And she will speak most bitterly and strange.
Most strange, but yet most truly shall I speak. That Angelo's forsworn is not strange. That Angelo is a murderer is not strange. That Angelo is an adulterous thief, an hypocrite, a virgin violator, is it not strange and strange? It is not truer he is Angelo than this is all as true as it is strange. Nay, nay, it is 10 times true, for truth is truth to the end of reckoning.
Away with her, poor soul. She speaks to this in the infirmity of sense.
O Prince, I conjure thee, as thou believest there is another comfort than this world, that thou neglect me not with that opinion that I am touched with madness. Make not impossible that which but seems unlike. 'Tis not impossible, but one, the wickedest caitiff on the ground, may seem as shy, as brave, as just, as absolute as Angelo. Even so may Angelo, in all his stressings, carrots, titles, forms, be an arch-villain. Believe it, royal prince. If he's less, he's nothing, but he is more, had I more name for badness.
By mine honesty, if she be mad, as I believe no other, her madness hath the oddest frame of sense. Such is the dependency of thing on thing, as e'er I heard in madness.
I am the sister of one Claudio, condemned upon the act of fornication to lose his head, condemned by Angelo. I, in probation of a sisterhood, was sent to by my brother, one Lucio, and as then the messenger, I went to this pernicious caitiff deputy.
That's somewhat madly spoken.
Pardon it, the phrases to the matter. In brief, to set the needless process by, how I persuaded, how I prayed and kneeled, how he repelled me, how I replied. For this was of much length. The vile conclusion I now begin with grief and shame to utter. He would not, but by gift of my chaste body to his concupiscible, intemperate lust, release my brother, and after much debatement, my sisterly remorse confutes mine honor, and I did yield to him, but the next morn betimes he sent a warrant for my poor brother's head.
This is most likely.
Oh, that it were as like as it is true!
My heaven fond wretch, thou knowest not what thou speakst. Confess the truth, and say by whose advice thou camest here to complain.
And is this all? Then, oh, you blessed ministers above, keep me in patience, and in ripened time unfold the evil that is here wrapped up in countenance. Heaven shield your grace from woe, as I, thus wronged, hence unbelieved go.
I know you'd fain be gone. An officer, to prison with her.
Okay. And let's also give it up for those lovely Cammy and Julia reading as the beginning Angela. Whatsoever, which is great. So, another little time skip. So there's some more court scene going on, and then the Duke reveals that he's like known what's going on this whole time, and like that he's been lying and all of this, and he brings in Mariana, who's the ex-fiance, and Angelo's like punishment for what he's done is to marry Mariana, which is like kind of a weird punishment. And then he condemns him to death. The Duke is like, actually, Angelo, we're gonna behead you. And Mariana is like, please don't behead him, I love him. Isabella, will you please beg for his life with me? And then Isabella does it, which is pretty wild. She begs for Angelo's life after all he has done to her. And then all is well. He brings out the brother has the baby. Everything's good. Everything's great. And then the Duke proposes marriage to Isabella. And then the play ends, and Isabella does not respond. That is quite literally the last line of the play, is him proposing marriage to her, asking her to take his hand, and which one is mine, which one is yours, etc. And then there's a blackout. So, to me, that has always felt like a really real slight to Isabella, like really not doing her justice, because, I mean, oh my god, like, she just went through all this shit, and all she wanted to do was be a nun. Like, just let her live. And yet, she's still being proposed marriage to, which is like the whole thing that she didn't want to do in the first place. So I've written a like original, my own writing monologue here that would, in a full production, sort of be like a everyone's on stage, everybody freeze moment, and then Isabella sort of delivers her inner monologue to the audience to show what she's thinking, etc. So that's what I'm going to show you now about this wild, wild moment where she gets no voice in the original text. His hand outstretched, reaching towards me open. Grasping, feeling, demanding. The indentation of my own hand is already in his, and yet I have not touched it. My hand within his hand, entwined, melded together with it, unmoving forever. It is my own hand, my own shoulder that should move it, my own choice that the shoulder should move. And yet there is no choice. What would you ask of me? He will send me away as he did but moments ago, call me a lost mind if I refuse him. Has he been waiting, pulling his strings and moving his knights in the shadows, all to place me exactly here, now, seeing me through my strife? Watched me mourn my body, my brother, my honor, all to maneuver this very moment. He has given me no choice but to take his twitching hand. Oh, his lies, his hypocrisy glaring, Aurelian in his crooked smile, staring through with his piercing eyes. Some rise by sin and some by virtue fall. There is no justice. My brother lives happily so with his babe in his arms, and she is so beautiful. Her light shines so softly, so warmly, and yet it is only a matter of time until it is snuffed. she be? Juliet, adultered and nearly widowed for his crime? A Mariana, to be tied forever to a man she knows to be so vile, who will beat her, dishonor her body, disrespect her very being, and she will lie beside him even in death. An overdone, feeding her children with her service to lust, and then chained by keeping herself alive by the only means given to her, or will she be an Isabel? A woman who has escaped from it all to a place where she can never again be disgraced by the sins of men, only to be thrust so violently into a storm of lust and power she must somehow quell, and in doing it, she loses everything that she has held dear. So here, I am at last trapped in my gilded cage, condemned to my life of reaching through the bars. And all I can do is ask forgiveness. O blessed Saint Clare, look on the poor and humble who call on you with compassion. As you bow before your Lord in heaven, speak to him of my afflicted body and my wounded spirit. Ask him to heal me and to wash away my sins in his precious blood. Holy, beloved Saint, teach me to believe, as you did, that I will find Jesus, who has only to say the word that I may be healed. I may be healed.